Hi everybody, it's John back with another model inbox review. Aircraft subject matter today is probably not even China worth introducing. But which model of the Supermarine Spitfire are we going to build? Well, before we go into the actual kit that I'm doing a review on, I want to bring your attention to a couple of things that a couple of model manufacturers actually put in their paint guides that isn't always the case. Here we have a picture of a Spitfire Mark I, and this actual aircraft belongs to the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. It's actually P9374. I do believe this aircraft was a Mark I or possibly a Mark II, but I think it's it is a Mark II, which served during World War II. Admittedly, a lot of the war it was used as a hack. But it was brought into the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight as part of their collection in flying condition. But the thing is, it's very interesting, is that this aircraft has been painted up as an early Mark I. A lot of people don't realise, but the Spitfire came into operational service quite a lot later than the Hurricane, and it was far less numerous in squadron strength than the Hurricane was at the beginning of the war. But they were on active duty during the early stages of World War II. But most of the aircraft that operated as part of the British Expeditionary Force, they weren't actually based in France. And the kit that I'm doing a review on states that the aircraft was based in France. It certainly wasn't. But I'll go into that when we do the options for the decals on the Gumph. But basically, a lot of the time, model manufacturers will tell you to paint the undercarriage oleos and wheel hubs and the inside of the undercarriage main doors in silver. And that most of the time is the case, but not every time. This particular BBMF example of a Spitfire has actually got black and white undersides, and the undercarriage doors, oleo legs and the wheel hubs are actually painted in their respective colours according to which side the undercarriage legs are on. So the undercarriage leg on the starboard wing will be white, and on the port wing it's matte black. The rear caster wheel strut is silver. You can see it's silver there. But the other thing that's interesting is a lot of companies will tell you to paint the features that crop up in the interior of the cockpit canopy. The cockpit itself in brown leather tan, and a lot of the features will be in brown. But you can see in this photo that the head restraint behind that pilot there is definitely matte black, and there's a surround around the seat that's definitely matte black as well. The instrument panel on most Spitfires were actually they were satin finish, matte black, satin back, and you can recreate that with matte 85 Humbrol coat or the equivalent in whichever range of paints you use. Now, just to prove the point, this is like an exception to the rule, but you can paint the aircraft as a lot of companies wish you to paint the aircraft by painting it in its usual colours like this. You can see this aircraft is a Mark II. It's AR213. It's actually a different aircraft. But it's got its silver wheel hubs, undercarriage oleos, and inside of the wheel doors they're actually silver. And again, you've got the black surround and head restraint, which is in matte black. And I think when I do the detailing for the interior of the Spitfire that I'm doing, it's going to be matte black features inside. And I'm painting a black and white underside featured version of the Spitfire Mark I-A. So I might do the doors in matte white and matte black as well. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, which kit are we doing an inbox review on? Well, before I explain that, I want to bring your attention to this kit. This is the 1979 tooling of the Supermarine Spitfire Mark I from Airfix. Its serial number was 010650, and it was present for many iterations and gift sets, and this kit is very commonly found on the second-hand market now. It's not a bad model, but compared with the retool that Airfix did that I'm doing a review on, this kit is not in the same league at all. But it's not a bad kit, and you can usually pick it up quite cheap. The way to tell the difference between this model and the kit I'm doing a review on, and you'll see the difference when we go through the instructions and the parts, but just to let you know, can be found from the instruction leaflet here. Inside the cockpit, you've got a cockpit floor, part 3 there, and part 1 and 2 form the basis of the seat and the bulletproof, like the armoured plate behind the pilot. In the actual Spitfire, part 3 looked nothing like that. You can actually put your hand right through to the bottom of the wing if your hand will reach, because the cockpit was built in as part of the tubular framing for the Spitfire. And in the new kit, you'll see that the tubular framing for the cockpit arrangement is faithfully depicted, and you'll see the difference between that. But if you have this style of interior cockpit for your Spitfire, it's a 1979 tooling, and that kit went right up until this iteration in 2009, which was a starter set available usually from Lidl or Aldi, but also from many model shops as well. Can't remember, is it 50677, this one? But it is a 79 tooling of the kit. So after this, we have the version of the kit that I'll be doing, the retool version from 2010, which is this kit. Originally serial number A01071A, this kit was released in 2010, and it is light years ahead of the 79 tooling, even though the aircraft is principally a similar mark. You'll see the difference. If you have the old tooling in your stash, why not try a comparison build and build this and the old tooling aircraft and see how they fare up to one another. Anyway, that's 2009. This kit was found in many iterations, and we'll go through the iterations as we do the boxing reviews. It was first found in this kit, and this is an interesting one here. This is the Battle of Britain 65th anniversary gift set, and it comes with a Spitfire Mk-I, which is the 2010 tooling, the Hurricane Mk-I, which is the new tooling, the Messerschmitt Bf109E4, which again is the new tooling kit, but beware of this model because the new tool of the Heinkel HE111 H or P was not available in 2010, and this is the old HE111H variant of the Heinkel, and you can tell that because if you look above the dorsal sections of fuselage, they're sort of midships, you'll see a mid-upper gun turret with a single machine gun in it, and that denotes the old Series 4 1960s tooling of the Heinkel HE111H20 and its Dyer. But there you go. So that's 2010 and the 65th anniversary of the Battle of Britain gift set, and then we go through to another RAF Battle of Britain gift set. This is the airfield set, which comprised the 2010 tooling of the Spitfire Mk-I, but then they mix the scales up by putting a 76th scale RAF refueling set, and this kit comes complete with the figures that you get in the Series 3 military refueling set boxing. It's not a bad kit actually. It comes with a nice diorama base. As you can see there, the Spitfire fits into the back of it and the refuelers sit in front with the crew there. It's not a bad boxing, not a bad offering at all. So that's 2010, the RAF Battle of Britain airfield set. And then we go to 2011 and we have another oddity here. This is the Spitfire Mk-I stroke Mk-IIA boxing of the 2010 tooled model kit. It came with new parts to enable you to build a two-bladed and Mk-I version canopy Spitfire Mk-I. I've built this kit before. It's actually quite nice. I found it an interesting proposition to have a two-bladed propellered Spitfire in your collection. It's quite a nice offering. So that's 2011. Then we go to another offering in 2011 with the 2010 tooled Spitfire Mk-I and the 2011 tooled Messerschmitt Bf110C2/C4. This is a dogfight double set. It's a gift set that comes complete with paint, brushes and glue. And the acrylic paints in these models by this time, by about 2010, 2011, the acrylic paints were a lot better than what they were in the 90s and the early noughties. but that's the dogfight double with the Messerschmitt Bf 110. In 2011 they also produced another starter set of the Spitfire Mark 1A, different decals on this particular one. I think there were two different versions in this particular, no sorry, there were one version, QJB. I can't remember which squadron this was from, but again this had the same type of acrylic paints, glue and a paintbrush. Those paints aren't always great, they're often dried up, but the glue's okay and the brushes are actually quite nice, they're Humboldt brushes. 2011 starter set there. You can often get these in Lidl and Aldi, by the way. You know, if these are the kits that often came into Lidl's, the starter sets, and they often were slightly modified toolings to the original tooling of the Spitfire when they went into a starter set. 2011 there goes to another 2011 release. This is the Project Airfix kit. Again, I think this has slightly different revised sprues. It might even be the starter set tooling. If they were different to the original tooling, I'm not sure, but these were aimed to reduce the cost of the packaging and bring the cost of the model down to entice new modelers and novice modelers to buy kits. They were about maybe £1.50 cheaper than a regular boxing of the Spitfire. 2011 there goes through to 2012, and we have the second dogfight double offering. This time the Spitfire Mark 1A and the Messerschmitt Bf 109E4 in a dogfight double set, complete with paints, brushes and the glue you can see there. Quite a nice set that Messerschmitt is really nice. 2012 again, we had a special edition release of the Spitfire Mark 1A. This was claimed through the Daily Mail's the Sunday Mail, and it was a limited edition run of kits that were available through the Daily Mirror newspaper. You just bought the paper and applied for the kit and paid the money, and Airfix sent it out to you. 2012 goes through again to 2012, and this is another gift set of the Spitfire. Again, different markings here. Spitfire Mark 1A. Again, you've got three acrylic paints, a paintbrush and a tube of glue. Not a bad kit. Then we go through to 2013 and we have another Battle of Britain gift set. This time it's the Battle of Britain Experience set. All these models in this boxing are all new tools. The Hurricane Mark 1, Spitfire Mark 1A and the Messerschmitt Bf 109. I think it's an E3 in that kit. Again with brushes, glue and all the acrylic paints required to paint the kit. 2013 went through to 2014 and we have another starter set available through Lidl and Aldi and also most model shops. Again, it's the Spitfire Mark 1A with acrylic paints, glue and a brush. 2014 goes through to 2014 and again Project Airfix cropped up with the reduced cost packaging to entice novice and new builders to buy Airfix kits. 2014 then goes through to 2016 and we have an interesting offering here. This is the same tooling as the Mark 1A, but this time they're depicting a Mark 5A. The sprue inside the box is identical, but the Mark 5A, this kit could have a different spinner on a sprue, because the spinner on the Mark 5A was different to the Mark 1. It should have been similar to the Mark 2A. So that would be an interesting rendition. Serial number AO2102 there, released in 2016. Then you go through to 2017 and you have another gift set with a Spitfire Mark 1A, again with acrylic paints, brush and glue. Yeah, interesting. They did a lot of these gift sets, didn't they, and starter sets. Anyway, 2017 goes through to 2018, and we have the 72nd scale offering of the RAF Centenary gift set. This is to commemorate 100 years of the RAF from 1918 to 2018. All these kits in here are old tool, apart from the Spitfire, which is a 2010 tooling, but that Sopwith Camel is pretty crude, and the old tool European fighter aircraft, the Typhoon II, actually went back to the days of the European EFA from the late 90s. That kit is that old. Anyway, that's the Centenary gift set, 2018, and then in 2018 we had another rendition of the Spitfire Mark 1A. This is actually the boxing that I've got, AO1071B, Interesting story to this, because on the back of the box, and I'll show you this in a minute when we do the in-box review, it states that this aircraft was based in France. It wasn't. No Spitfires were ever sent to France during the Battle of France or during the Phony War. Can't remember his name, old Stuffy, what was his name? Dowding, Hugh Dowding wouldn't allow Spitfires to go to France. He only ever sent them to be based in England, but to do sorties over France. The Hurricanes were the aircraft of choice to be based in France. But this aircraft was part of a flight of 3 aircraft, which were sent to patrol the skies behind enemy lines during the Dunkirk evacuation in 1940. And the image on the front of this box would never have happened, because the flight of 3 Spitfires, of which Flying Officer John Gillies was depicted as the pilot of this particular boxing, they ran into a patrol of Messerschmitt Me 110s, and one of the 110s was shot down, but 2 of the Spitfires were shot down by 110s, and Gillies' aircraft was one of them. Gillies survived the war as a POW and was repatriated into England, I think, in early 1946. The other pilot who was shot down that day unfortunately met his death at an execution squad after the true story of the Great Escape, where he was recaptured after being part of the Great Escape, if you like, 300 odd people escaping through the tunnels, and he was recaptured and ordered executed by Adolf Hitler in 1944. Anyway, that's the boxing issue for this particular kit. These aircraft are actually based at RAF Hornchurch, but were seconded to Croydon for the cat patrols over Dunkirk during the evacuation, and that's where these aircraft are actually based. Anyway, 2018, that particular boxing, this is the one I'm doing a review on, you'll see that in a minute. Then you go to 2020 and you have a 75th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, this time all new tooled kits, the Spitfire Mk-I, the Hawker Hurricane Mark 1, the Bf-109E4 and the Heinkel HE-111P2, which are all featured in this particular boxing, and what lovely kits all of them are. 2020 goes through to 2020's Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. Again, this is the 2010 tooling of the Spitfire Mark 1, but I think it's trying to be a Spitfire Mark 2. You have a PR Mark 19 Spitfire, Griffin powered one there. And there's the City of Lincoln, the Avro Lancaster B Mark 3. Yeah, nice kit. This is a really nice kit if you can get a hold of it. It's a very nice offering. 2020, the BBMF Memorial Flight Set. Then you go to an unusual offering. In 2020, Airfix went into releasing a series of board games called Blood Red Skies. They did quite a few of them. The Battle of Britain one, which featured the 2010 tooling of the Spitfire and the new tool Bf-109E4. There are actually 2 planes in each of the kit, and you'll see that in the next photograph. But they also did Blood Red Skies for the Eastern Front, the Battle of Midway. I think there was one for the North African campaign, and possibly one for somewhere else as well, but I can't remember. But the Blood Red Skies tooling boxes can often be picked up for quite cheap amounts of money. But if you're interested in buying this as a board game, brand new, you can get it from the Airfix website or from Amazon. They're both about 45 quid. Just to show you what you actually get 2 aircraft of each type, 2 Messerschmitt 109s, 2 Spitfire Mark 1As. They come with a plastic clear disc for the propeller, a board, a number of parts, some die there, and some measuring tools. And it's actually quite a tactical game. It's quite an interesting game to play. I've never played it before, but I have heard people say they bought it and found it mildly amusing. But that's what you get inside the box when you open the Blood Red Skies box. Anyway, 2020 goes through to 2021, and we have another reboxing of the 2018 release with Flying Officer John Gillies flying the aircraft. 2021 there goes through to 2023, and we have another Spitfire Mark 1A gift set with glue, a brush and some acrylic paints. And then in 2024, we had the last rendition of the Spitfire Mk-I released in a box from Airfix. And this is the same kit as what I've got to review here. But nice, interesting box work. Airfix utilised quite a lot of different box work, didn't they? Anyway, this kit also found its way in another couple of gift sets. You had the Battle of Britain 85th anniversary gift set, which was released by Airfix last year. Sorry, 85th, which it will be released this year. Sorry, of the Battle of Britain. This is the same release that came out in 2020. So yeah, that will be quite nice. And then you have a nice image of a Spitfire Mk-I here. A lot of people might not realise, but that yellow square on the above section of the wing there is actually a gas indicator ring. When the pilot landed on an airfield or his home airfield base, if that box changed colour, I think it was supposed to change brown or green, it would register to the pilot that he had to put his gas mask on because the airfield was subject to a gas attack. So what we'll do now is we'll just pan the camera down and show you this rather nice little kit we've got to review here. Let's pop that down, get a little bit of drop on there on the camera, and that should do it. No, that's not. It needs to go back a little bit more. Sorry about this. Trying to get a camera stand that holds a phone can be a bit of a nightmare. No, still can't get it right. Let's put that right back to there. That should do it. Is that it? No. That'll do. Right. Nice box artwork on this. It's nice and crisp. An image of the picture. There's an image there of the aircraft. What you're doing. Side images. There you've got just some warning right in here. There's a serial number. The end of the box, just a rendition of the same on the front. And then Airfix always turn their images upside down on the other side of the box. You can see there, number 92 Squadron, France, 1940. They weren't based in France, they were based at Hornchurch and seconded to RAF Croydon. But interesting. 1 flying hours on the box, and on the back you've got the paint guide and decal application guide. And it shows you where all the stencils go, what colours to paint, everything. It's a nice touch Airfix there. I like that. Nice to see colour and the call outs there for all the paints. That's nice as well. They're all Humbrol call out colours, of course. And then they're advertising the Humbrol gear, which is nice. Anyway, let's have a look at the kit. Let's get it open and have a look, see what we've got in here. I have actually had a look at this. To see what there is in the box, and I am quite impressed. First of all, we'll have a look at the instruction leaflet like normal, and then we'll go through the decals and the parts. The instruction leaflet. Do you remember the old tool Spitfire that had the floor pan? Well, we'll have a look to see how this builds up, but basically it's an A4 sheet of paper. It's in the modern format that Airfix do nowadays with red, white and black, featuring on all the instruction leaflets. And no doubt when you open the page you'll be shown the sub-assemblies that you built before. Yeah, they're ID'd, number 1, number 2 and blah blah. Anyway, got some assembly instructions at the top there, and some assembly icons. They're the things that tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, how long for, and everything else. And then you've got the instruction leaflet itself, which builds the kit up into 7 stages. And none of them are that complicated, but this kit is actually quite detailed. It's got quite a lot of detail going on with it. The interior of the cockpit, do you remember me telling you about the tubular frame that builds the cockpit floor? You can put your hand through in a real Spitfire and touch the bottom of the wing if your hands are long enough. There's the tubular floor with the rudder pedals, and the joystick fits into the locating lug just behind the pedals there. And then you've got the O-ring bulkhead, which the seat sits into, and the forward bulkhead, which the instrument panel fits into. A10 there, that's quite nice. It's also got a pilot, so Bill, you're going to be pleased about that. It's quite nice to see pilots in aircraft kits nowadays, because a lot of companies they're just not doing them anymore. And you've got the colourways there, which is quite nice, telling you what colours to paint everything before you proceed with the assembly. Section 2 is the propeller, not much to write home about there. Section 3 is the fuselage assembly. There's a couple of oxygen bottles there as detailed in the fuselage there, and it tells you to paint the inside of the aircraft zinc chromate. Propeller goes in at this stage with a retainer pin, and then in section 4 you put the airframe together. It's quite simple. I like the fact that you've got optional positioned rudder and separate parts for the engine exhaust stubs. I'm always a big fan of that. And they're telling you to paint the inside of the airframe above the lower wing there in zinc chromate as well. But they're also telling you to paint the upper halves of the wings matte white and matte black. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I'll have to do some research before I agree to that, but yeah, that's interesting. Section 5, you put in the undercarriage assembly together. If you have wheels up, tail wheel goes in, oil cooler and the engine radiator, that goes in, and you've got the nav light and the radio antenna. And then you've got separate parts if you want the wheels down for section 6. And that's where you put the oil cooler's radiator section in and the RT radio mast, which is nice. And then at the bottom of section 6 and 7, you've got some guides there to show you how the wheels should look, and the dihedral on the wings, and the way the undercarriage should look from the side view. And that's a nice touch as well from Airfix. I like that. So the instructions are quite easy to follow. There's no issues there. I don't think they're difficult to understand at all. Transfers. Now then. These transfers are not marked made in Italy, but the transfers are marked made in Italy on the box. So I think these transfers are made by Cartograph. They look absolutely phenomenal. There is very little raised edge on any of these decals. The register on them is absolutely perfect. You've got the gun squares there that go on the holes for the guns on the leading edges of the wing, but I tend to paint mine. Yeah. Also, you can either drill the holes through, but what a lot of modelers do is they just leave them red, because in active service during the war, they were covered up every time the aircraft went into flight. So they were covered up with a red fabric square to keep the condensation out of the gun bays, so that they stop them jamming and kept the heat inside the gun bays to allow the guns to work properly. But the instrument panel there, come into focus. There we go. The instrument panel's quite nice. You do have to use that instrument panel because there's no dials on the instrument panel that you get as the part in the kit. The decals are quite nice. I really like the look of those. Very, very good. Now we go to the parts. We'll have a look at the transparency first. I don't think I'll need to get it out of the bag, because you can see this transparency through the bag, can't you? Can you see that? That's quite nice as well. Very, very nice indeed. The Malcolm hood's faithfully reproduced. Very, very nice. So, yeah, quite pleased with that. Well done, Airfix. The sprues. We'll look at sprue. Is this sprue A or sprue? Yeah, this is sprue A. Fuselage sprue. I'd call it the fuselage sprue, but it's actually sprue A. The fuselage, it has quite a bit of detail inside and out. You've got quite a lot of ribbing framework there going on, which is nice. That'll paint up with some nice oil washes. Some of the control surfaces are on there. Yeah, I think they've done a pretty good job of that. And the external part of the airframe, bearing in mind the Spitfire was very flush riveted, and it was built completely in stressed metal. The only real rivets that you'd have seen weren't rivets, they were screws that held the engine cowlings on. but everything else was flush riveted, and you wouldn't see them at all in 72nd scale. You might be lucky to see them in 1/24th, but not in this scale. So again, well done Airfix for that. The propeller's quite nicely cast. There are the O-ring ribs for the supports for the cockpit interior, undercarriage doors there, and a few bits and bobs. There's the oil, no, sorry, the is that the air cooler? And the pilot seat there. See, that's quite nicely ribbed and detailed. It's a nice kit, isn't it? The undercarriage and the wheels are weighted, which is nice. Propeller spinner, it's a nice shape. Yep, I like the look of that. It's a nice set of parts on these kits. I'm not a fan of the dark grey coat colour, which you get out of the models that come out of India nowadays, but apparently the plastic works fine, and it's easy to work and everything. The pilot looks a bit chunky, doesn't he? Yeah, quite nicely detailed. He'll paint up all right, I think. Interior detail on the wing there, the wheel bay, nice casting for the cloth covered ailerons. There's the radiator there, that's quite nicely cast. Oxygen bottles, there's the exhaust stubs, they're nicely cast, and the upper wings, yep, they look okay as well. And the fabric covered rudder, again, that's quite nice as well. Yep, I like the look of this. Airfix, I think this kit is really nice. The detail on the lower wing there. With the older tooling Spitfires, you just don't get this level of detail. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because of the way in which models are injection molded nowadays. You know, the technology is there to build a better kit, if you like. And so a lot of companies are doing better kits. And as you'll see in the Gumph, I do believe this is one of the best Spitfire models in 72nd scale on the market now, if you want an early mark. But there are a couple of other kits out there which are worth looking at as well, but I'll let you know what they are when we get through to the Gumph, which I'm about to tell you now. Just pop all this in here and give you a nice picture to have a look at, whilst I'll give you the paint guide there, because that's quite nice, isn't it? And we'll go through the Gumph. Right. The kit we're doing an in-box review on is the Airfix Supermarine Spitfire Mk-I. Its serial number is A01071B. Its release date was 2010, but I have a 2018 release boxing, and the kit was released in 1/72nd scale. There are decals for one version of Spitfire Mk-I, serial number N3290, serving 92 Squadron in 1940, based at RAF Croydon on seconder from Hornchurch. The pilot was Flying Officer John A. Gillies, who was shot down over France by a Bf 110 during the evacuation of Dunkirk. The part count on the kit is 34 parts on 2 dark grey plastic sprues and 2 parts on 1 transparent sprue, making 36 parts in total. Dimensions of the kit are about 5.5 inches long by 6.5 inches span, and it should sit just under 1.5 inches high on its undercarriage. Now the options and costs are quite diverse, but there aren't that many individual toolings, but it's interesting what is available. I'm only doing options and costs for the Spitfire K50-54 prototype, the Mk-I, the Mk-I-A, and the Seafire Mk-I variants. And the standalone kits are as follows. Admiral did a couple of models, but they were both Seafire Mk-I-Bs. One was with a Vokes filter. Both kits, individual boxings, go for about £24 to £25. Now Airfix did a number of Mk-I and Mk-I-A Spitfire kits. The first of which was released in the early 50s as Spitfire Mk-I BTK. This kit is it's really dire, but if you're a collector of Airfix models, it's probably one of the most important aircraft model kits for a collector to own. It's really rare. It's as rare as rocking horse poop, and that's why the asking price is usually £300 to £450. But I do warn you, if you want to build this kit, it's probably one of the most inaccurate Spitfire models on the market. There are one or two other ones which are worse and just as poor, but the BTK Spitfire from the early 50s was pretty terrible. They actually retooled the BTK Spitfire in the original boxings and packaging, but they retooled it with the Mark 9 Spitfire, what was later to become the Mark 9 Johnny Johnson kit in Series 1. And that kit was retooled in about 1958, and that kit is still fairly rare as well, goes for about £100 to £200. Now they also did a 50th anniversary kit which comprised the BTK Spitfire tooled from the 1979 Mark 1. That kit retails for anything from £5 to £15 and it's quite readily available. But there is another kit which, if you have, it should be in a vault and insured for quite a lot of money. And this is the Airfix Historic Air Fleet gift set, which comprised of the original tooling of the BTK Spitfire, the original Sikorsky S-55, the original tooling of the Westland Lysander Mark 1, the original tooling of the Bristol Fighter F2B, and the first tooling of the Gloucester Gladiator Mark 2. This boxing goes anything from upwards from about £500, and I've only ever seen one sell at auction, and it's sold for well over £650. But you know, if you have one, you should insure it for at least £500. Now, Airfix also did the 1979 tooling, which was the kit that came out on the flash pack or the card kit or blister pack, if you like. That kit can be purchased for as little as £1 to about £15, and that model was also retooled slightly to become the Mark 1 Spitfire Snap and Glue, and that kit goes for about £5 to £10. Airfix also released the 79 tooled Spitfire in the following collections. The 20th Century Flight Set, which comprised the Fokker DR-1 triplane, the Spitfire Mark 1, the MiG-15 Biz, the Hawker Harrier GR Mark 3, and the Lockheed F-117A Nighthawk. That kit can usually be picked up for about 25 to 30 quid. Airfix also did the Historic Collection, which comprised of the Spitfire Mark 1, the Typhoon Mark 1B, that's the old tool, and the old tool BF-109G6. That retails for about £25 to £35. Airfix also released an RAF 90th anniversary gift set, which comprised the Sopwith Camel, the Gloucester Gladiator, the Supermarine Spitfire Mark 1, the English Electric Lightning F3, and the Panadia Tornado F3. This kit is quite rare and it goes for around about £90 to £100. Also, Airfix released the 100 Years Flight gift set, which comprised the Sopwith Camel again, Spitfire Mark 1, a Meteor Mark 3, the Lightning F3, the Hawker Siddeley Harrier GR Mark 3, the F-16 Fighting Falcon, and an F-117A Nighthawk. This kit is quite easily available and you can get it for anything between £28 and £30. Airfix also produced an RAF airfield set comprising the Spitfire Mark 1 and the RAF refuelling set, and it comes with all the figures you get in the Series 3 refuelling set. That kit retails between £40 and £50. And then you had the Airfix Duxford collection, which comprised of a Spitfire Mark 1, a Hurricane Mark 1, and a North American P-51D Mustang, which I believe is the Series 2 kit from the 70s. That kit retails between £15 and £25. Airfix also did an unusual mojo building model aimed at the youth modelers or the new modelers to buy Airfix kits. This was a modelling gift set comprising of a Supermarine Spitfire Mark 1, a Douglas A4D1 Skyhawk, an Angel Interceptor, and an MG Magnete car. This kit retails for about £40 to £50. And then you had the Airfix collector tin, which was the Supermarine Spitfire Mark 1 and Supermarine S6B Schneider Cup-winning seaplane. That kit retails, although it comes in a metal tin, it retails about £35 to £40. Then Airfix retooled the Spitfire Mark 1 and turned it into the Mark 1A in 2010, and this kit is available for anything between £5 and £9. You can usually buy this particular kit and the later boxings for about £8.99 in your shops. This kit came in a number of gift sets as well. It came in the 65th Anniversary Battle of Britain gift set, which comprised the Spitfire Mark 1A, the Hurricane Mark 1, the BF 109E, and the Heinkel HE 111H20, the old tool Heinkel. Retails about £28 to £30. They also did a 75th anniversary Battle of Britain gift set, which comprised the Spitfire Mk-I, Hurricane Mk-I, BF-109E, and the Heinkel HE-111P2. Retails for £35 to £50. And Airfix also are releasing the 85th anniversary Battle of Britain gift set this year, and that comprises of the same models that came in the previous rendition, the Spitfire Mk-I, the Hurricane Mk-I, the BF-109E, and the HE-111P2. The retail price in your shops for that when it comes in is 55 quid. Airfix also did the RAF Centenary gift set with the Spitfire Mk-I-A, the Sopwith Camel, and the Eurofighter Typhoon 2. The Sopwith Camel is the only Dyer kit, but remember that Typhoon 2 kit originates from the EFA model from the late 1990s. Retail price for that is £17 to £40. Airfix also did the Battle of Britain Experience gift set comprising a Spitfire Mk-I, the Hurricane Mk-I, and the BF-109E. Retail price £22 to £25. Then Airfix also did a rebox of the Battle of Britain Airfield gift set comprising of the new tool Spitfire Mk-I-A, the RAF refuelling set and all the figures that came in that box. That retails for about £30. Airfix also did a Spitfire Mk-I and BF-110C2 dogfight double set for about £17 to £22. The Airfix Spitfire Mk-I-A and BF-109E4 dogfight double set retails for £20 to £24. And the Blood Red Skies board game, comprising 2 Spitfire 1As, 2 BF-109Es, and a playboard and some measuring and board parts, that retails for anything between £15 to £47, but it is available brand new from the Airfix website and Amazon for about £44.95. The Airfix Spitfire 1A came also as part of the quick build kits. These weren't the 2010 tooling, they were separate toolings like Lego for quick build modelers. These retail for anything between £20 and £25, but I think they're available brand new from the Airfix website or from Lidl when they come in from time to time for about £14, I believe. There's a company called AZ Model who build in individual boxing a Spitfire Mk-I early, a Spitfire Mk-I late, and a Mk-I-A. These all retail for £20 to £25. Checkmaster Resin do a Spitfire K5054 prototype, a Spitfire Mk-I early, and a Seafire Mk-I-B. These all retail for between £24 and £35. Frog does a rather terrible Spitfire Mk-I-A/5A, which can be bought for £3 to £20. Frog also did a Spitfire Mk-I-A/5A and a Junkers Ju-88 dogfight double set. These kits are dreadful, but because of the rarity of the box, it's about £40 to £100. Hasegawa did a very run-of-the-mill Spitfire Mk-I for about £12 to £20. Hasegawa Airfight Over Dunkirk gift set comprising a Spitfire Mk-I, a BF-109E, and an HE-111H or P, retails for £25 to £50. They also did a dogfight double set from Hasegawa, limited edition of a Spitfire Mk-I and a BF-109E dogfight double set, £20 to £40. Hella did quite a nice Spitfire Mk-I kit for about £5 to £15, and Pegasus did a Spitfire prototype kit 300 K5054 in resin. So if you're a novice builder, I wouldn't try and attempt this because they're not very easy to work with. That retails for £15 to £35. Revell did a pretty dire Spitfire Mk-I / Mk-II boxings in various different renditions. This kit can be bought for anything between £5 and £25. Revell did a 3 Battle of Britain fighter set. This is set 3 of the fighter sets they did. They did a number of different fighter sets. They were all the really terrible tooled Spitfire Mk-I, Hurricane Mk-I, and the BF-109E. Because of the rarity of the boxing, they go for about £50 to £100 when they're available. Revell also did a Battle of Britain famous air battle set number 3, which comprised a diorama, a Spitfire Mk-I, and a BF-109E. I do stress these are the old diabolical tools again, and because of the rarity of the box, it's about £75 to £150. Revell also did a Battle of Britain gift set, an early version which comprised of the old tool Spitfire Mk-I, Hurricane Mk-I, Ju-87B Stuka, and an HE-111H6, which is actually a Frog kit. So they're all pretty terrible. That kit retails between £45 and £50. They also did a late variant of the Battle of Britain gift set comprising a Spitfire Mark-I, a Hurricane Mark-I, a Ju-87B and a Ju-88A. I think all of these kits again are the old tools. These retail for between £17 and £50. Tamiya did what I consider to be the second best Spitfire model on the market in 72nd scale. It's quite old now, but it was really, really good when it first came out. You can sometimes get that for as little as £5. It's usually available in the shop for about £12 to £13. But I have seen it go for £15 as well, so £5 to £15 for that. And Testers, the last standalone company, they do a Spitfire Mark 1 standalone kit for £10 to £16, not sure of the quality of that. And they also do a dogfight double set of a Spitfire Mark 1 and BF109E, and that retails for £10 to £20. Now, some of these kits are reboxed. There's a company called Freight Dog. They do a Seafire Mark 1B, which is a reboxed Cova Savodi Prostajove kit, which is actually a reboxed Admiral kit, but the parts are supplied by KP. So they're a reboxed Cova Savodi Prostajove kit, and it comes with resin parts to convert them into a Seafire Mark 1B proper. That retails for £15 to £17. Frog Airlines did a Spitfire Mark II, which is a reboxed Frog kit for £5 to £15. DZI did a Spitfire Mark 1/5, which is a reboxed Frog kit for £5 to £15. Hasegawa Hales did a Spitfire Mark 1, which is a reboxed Hasegawa kit for £5 to £20. And Hasegawa Minicraft did a Spitfire Mark 1 reboxed Hasegawa kit for £5 to £15. Humbrol Heller did a Spitfire Mark 1, which is a reboxed Heller kit, £5 to £10. And MPC, yeah, they did an interesting one. If you ever see photographs or boxings of this somewhere, it's actually a Spitfire Mark 1A Battle of Britain set, which comprises, believe it or not, a Spitfire Mark 9 disguised as a Mark 1A and an RAF refueling set. And the Spitfire Mark 1 is the same kit that actually was the Spitfire Mark 9 Johnny Johnson kit, Mark Series 1 from the 50s. And that kit retails for £40 to £50. Novo did a Spitfire Mark 1A/5A, which was a reboxed Frog kit for £5 to £15. And Cova Savodi Prostajove or KP Models did a Seafire Mark 1B, which is a reboxed Admiral kit for £10 to £15. And they also did a Mark 1B Seafire with Vokes filter reboxed Admiral kit for £10 to £15. Conclusions. Well, this kit should build into a very, very nice Spitfire model kit. I do believe it is probably the top of the list in quality and the render of the model. It's absolutely top notch, and I hope it will prove a vast increase in quality over the old 79 tooled Spitfire Mark 1. With nice casted recessed panel lines, it should interest a pro builder as well as a novice builder to boot. Kits worthy of note are the new tool Airfix kits are subject to this review. Also the Heller and Tamiya kits are quite nice offerings too. The Frog based, Hasegawa and Revell based kits should all be left in the box. I hope this video has been of some use. I think I'm going to have a go at the kit straight out the box as it is intended. And I hope I do this kit justice because it looks really nice. Anyway, I hope this video has been of use. I hope to see you for the next video. I hope all your projects are running smooth. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments box and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. See you for the next. Bye bye.